Welcome to Health Scope. My name is Teresa McCabe. I'm a public health educator for Niagara County Department of Health, Environmental Health Division. Today we have a really interesting program for you, especially if you live in a multi-unit house or apartment building. And this is especially for your landlord. If you own a multi-unit residence, this program is especially for you. We're going to be discussing the importance of declaring your property smoke-free. A lot of people think, oh, is this discriminatory? No, it's not. We're going to get into that and why it's so important to declare your property smoke-free. Today, I have some very interesting guests with me. First of all, we have Jenna Brankworth from Tobacco Free Erie, Niagara. Jenna and I have been community partners for several years now, and we have worked very, very closely with each other. Thank you, Jenna, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have today Scott Russo from Q&D Management Group. Scott is a smoke-free advocate for multi-unit housing. Today, I'm going to be asking them some questions, and Jenna and I are going to be co-educating today, and we really hope that we can reach landlords, reach these tenants who are troubled by secondhand smoke so they can pass this information on to their landlords. And I think you will find it a very interesting discussion. So let's begin. Again, welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for being here. Smoke-free housing is very near and dear to my heart. As a young child, I grew up in a home with smoking parents, but back then, because I am a little older than several people, back then parents didn't know about the dangers of secondhand smoke and the things that we know now. And smoking was just such a way of life. So let's just begin by saying, Jenna, how about if you tell our viewers a little bit about you and Tobacco Free Erie, Niagara, and what your mission is?
Sure. Tobacco Free Erie, Niagara is a program funded through the New York State Department of Health, and there are actually other groups just like ours throughout New York State working on tobacco-related initiatives such as policies, smoke-free housing, smoke-free outdoor air, a lot of parks now, municipalities, large employers are making all of their grounds smoke-free. So actually way back when I worked with this same coalition, we called it about 20 years ago, because it is a type of program where we want the community to be involved, to be advocates for us, and we really work on community engagement. But at any rate, we worked on the Clean Indoor Air Law. And as we can all remember, that was a huge change. People could not even believe that we might not be able to smoke in bowling alleys and bingo halls and bars. And
at work.
How
many people work next door, right next to someone who had an ashtray on their desk?
Right, and it wasn't that long ago. The Clean Indoor Air Act has been in effect for Erie County about 15 years. I'm sure people have had experiences going to Pennsylvania or some other places down south, Texas, where there are not clean indoor air laws, and it just seems so strange. So now this outdoor air initiative and smoke-free housing is kind of the next step towards a healthier environment for people and the air that they breathe. So that's the type of thing we do, and then we work in conjunction with the New York State Smokers Quit line, smoking cessation services that are held right at Roswell Park, and other tobacco control type of initiatives.
And you work very closely with me as a public health educator. I'm always teaching about smoke and why it's harmful. A lot of people don't even know that there are 4,000 chemicals, more than 4,000 chemicals
now,
in cigarette smoke. 40 of these chemicals are absolutely positively known to be carcinogenic. Yeah. So when I usually ask a group how many chemicals they think there are in smoke, in cigarettes, they'll say, oh, maybe 20 or 30, 4,000, over 4,000. And that becomes particulate matter, and people end up breathing those chemicals in. Scott, will you please tell us about Q&D Management Group, and let our viewers know why you felt it important enough to take time out of your day to be here today. Why are you a smoke-free advocate?
Community Management's a property management company in Williamsville, New York. We oversee apartment complexes throughout New York State, both federally subsidized, private sector. We manage various townhouses and condo associations throughout New York State. And going smoke-free is twofold for us. One is the responsibility to the other residents as far as health goes, and the other, as unpalatable as it may be for some people, reducing cost.
I think
because ultimately,
important.
the costs that we incur go back to the residents. And being able to reduce that allows us to shift money into things that benefit the residents, that preserve the property.
It's very important. All of those things are important. So let's get down to the heart of the matter. Today we're here to discuss smoke-free multi-unit dwellings. In other words, if you own or you live in a property that has more than one unit, whether it's a landlord and someone's living upstairs, or even better, an apartment building, again, this is for you. We are going to be having a conference, a discussion, March 11th, and it will be held at Niagara County Community College for Niagara County landlords. It's just a couple of hours. Registration is going to be at 8:30 in the morning, and we are going to be putting all of this information on the screen several times during our program today, as well as contact information for Jenna, contact information for me, if you have a few questions. The most important thing is this conference is free to all landlords. Just a couple of hours. Scott will be one of our speakers. He will elaborate more, as well as some other very influential people who will only be speaking for a few minutes each. You are not going to be tied down. Let me tell you, this is not going to be a great imposition on your time, but the little frosting on the cake, you get a free breakfast out of this. So please come, have a cup of coffee, have some breakfast, and learn a little bit about why you should maybe consider creating a smoke-free environment for your tenants. Jenna, let's tell the viewers, why is smoke-free property so important?
Well, actually, at Roswell Park, we have research folks who are doing research on secondhand smoke drift. And so, I'm sort of the boots on the ground trying to build the awareness of the importance of smoke-free housing, but then also we have right at Roswell Park the science behind this initiative. And, there is no doubt that smoke goes into the air goes everywhere. It drifts, of course, under doorways. It can drift through pipes, ventilation, fans, and, of course, heating vents, and even through electrical sockets. So, there's just no way around it. It travels everywhere, and it affects everyone's air in a building. I'm sure people have had experiences walking down halls of apartment buildings, and you can clearly smell the smoke of someone who's smoking in their apartment. So it, it goes everywhere. It affects everyone, and that's why this is so important, and it impacts everyone's health. I think sometimes folks don't realize that it really does affect children and elderly especially, and everyone living in a shared community has the right to have clean air.
Absolutely. I brought a graphic today, Jen. I don't know if I shared it with you. I don't think I did before, but when I teach about secondhand smoke, and it's 2 sets of lungs from an autopsy. The one set is nice and pink and healthy, and yet you can probably see it on our monitor there. And the other set is very black. And believe it or not, the black set of lungs are also from a non-smoker. This person lived in a smoke-filled environment. So a lot of people say, oh, it never hurt me, or I grew up with it. And I've heard this from countless people when I'm teaching, but we really can't see inside our chest. We really can't see the repercussions that happen from secondhand smoke. So yes, this is very possible.
And it's such a different time now. I mean, I think a lot of folks grew up in a household where people were smoking, their parents were smoking, and no one really thought anything of it. There wasn't the awareness that there is now. And that now you have adults who are dealing with some of the health effects of growing up in that environment if they never smoked themselves. So again, we know a lot more. There's a lot more information out there and awareness, and So that's why this smoke-free housing sort of movement, I mean, it's really taken off in the last 4 to 5 years. I mean, my job has gotten a lot easier as far as educating folks because there is so much more awareness out there about why this is important. And then, you know, we're there to really help with information, and if a landlord is considering this and they don't even know where to begin because most people have never done this before,
You are it.
we've
You are
got
the
the
person.
information and you know, can really help them go through it. This is a really nice toolkit, it's called, but as you can see, it's actually a pretty thorough booklet, which has lease addendums, sample leases, sample letters to tenants, just a wealth of information that can be used.
And it's an easy read. I've looked at this.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
an
yeah.
easy read. This is, you don't have to have a law degree
A
to
lot
look
of
at
good
this, do you?
information that can be shared with a landlord and the residents. And I'm always more than happy to come and speak to tenants about this issue, explain why it's important, help with smoking cessation if that's something that folks are interested in. We really try to get across that the tenants don't have to quit smoking, but they just can't smoke in their unit.
Okay.
So if they choose to go outside and do that, that's fine, but just when they're in their home, and a lot of people in their own homes now aren't smoking anyway. You know, a lot of people are concerned about secondhand smoke around their children or, you know, their family members, so a lot of people are going ahead and doing this anyway, which is great to see.
That's true. Scott, would you tell our viewers why allowing smokers to smoke indoors is a poor choice from landlords, and why Q&D made the specific decision to rent only to non-smokers or not allowing smoking in the building?
It's twofold. One is in the past 5 years, we've been seeing more and more people approaching us with issues with secondhand smoke, and we've had to react to it. The other issue is the cost. A single bedroom average turn, you know, person was in there really not extreme in their lifestyle. On a 600 square foot apartment, you're probably looking at about, after all is said and done, about $800 in cost. Person who is in there who is a moderate smoker, that cost goes up to about a little over $1,000. And depending on how much a person smokes, your cost goes up. And people find that hard to believe, but you know, starting from painting the walls, you've got an added cost to seal that in.
Yes.
Where you were just wiping down fixtures, you know, as far as lights, you know, for dust and that, now you're trying to remove the residue of smoke. Carpeting has had to be replaced in situations because the smell will not come out. The time to clean cabinets, and you yourself know when you clean your cabinets, that's not fun to begin with. You know, now try to remove the residue of smoke. Same thing with appliances. You know, so it's straight across the board. You can get into you know, depending on the size of the apartment, a $5,000 add-on that you weren't expecting to incur. You know, granted, you knew it was coming because of the smoker and how much they did smoke. And that doesn't factor in little fires that you encounter with people on oxygen, you know, that still insist on smoking, and people that are just careless with their cigarettes.
Yes, there's a fire concern as well. At our conference, along with Scott and along with Jenna, our Niagara County Fire Coordinator will be there talking for a few moments about careless smoking, about the fire hazards that are involved. So if you are a landlord and you're thinking about, wow, I do have to paint, I have to use a special paint to cover that up, I have to bring in a cleaning crew because this is far more cleaning than I want to do. And believe me, I know where you're coming from there. My husband and I several years ago bought a house that both the husband and the wife smoked. We cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned. Even inside, the drawers were coated with nicotine. So, I mean, everything. And it was very, very time consuming, and it was very, very costly for the amount of money that we had to put in to have. And we did. We ripped out carpeting, we threw away drapes, that were custom made for the home. We had to go through all of that. And when a landlord has to think about, is someone going to fall asleep with a cigarette? That's another concern, isn't it? Yeah. So have you ever had any apartments before this that had fire concerns?
We've actually had a couple small fires that were very contained. One was actually a flash fire where the person was on oxygen. And kind of like in the movie, it just went across, singed the fibers. You know, it didn't turn into anything, but, you know, here was the charred carpet. And at that point, it was still an argument with the resident that you're on oxygen, you cannot have an open flame. It's interesting because when they come in with oxygen, they give you the thing, the little placard to put up.
Absolutely.
And we see quite a few of the residents were ignoring that. Well, I turned it off, or, well, there's still oxygen in the apartment. You've increased it. You're not consuming all of it yourself.
Absolutely. Most people don't know that oxygen molecules are like Velcro, and they stick to the hair and the face, facial hair and things. So if someone shuts off the tank and lights up, it's poof.
Yeah, it's not instant.
It's still there. It is still there. Scott, we were just discussing about the rehabbing costs of an apartment after smokers move out. I mean, have you ever had any apartments that were just really like you're ready to condemn?
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
We had a situation, you'd walk into the complex and you could smell the smoke.
Wow.
When you went down the one hallway, the closer you got to the apartment, the stronger it became. And to say stronger is really an understatement. You went into the apartment, it was a husband and wife. She was on oxygen, confined to a wheelchair. In the center of the kitchen table was the industrial size ashtray. Filled up. She would turn her oxygen off, light up a cigarette, use the one that she was having to light up the second one. And the husband, pretty much followed suit. They used to joke when we'd go in there that you didn't need to have a Post-it because a piece of paper would easily stick, to the wall because the walls were that yellowed and tacky.
Wow.
When they did move out, it was carpeting, several coats of sealer on the walls. And after several attempts of trying to use different things to clean up the cabinetry, it became a write-off. We just were not able to get the smell out. That on the extreme side, but still, you do encounter those periodically.
I guess you would. Along with the careless fires, I mean, sometimes things just don't, set fire. I'm imagining you've got like carpeting or furniture or tabletops with burn marks in them as well.
Yes, the residents, things like that belong to the residents, but it's amazing, this is your furniture and here's the singe marks and the complacency of it. It's like, whatever, things happen.
Okay. Jenna and I, we speak to groups frequently, and we always try to give people the information to keep the general population as healthy as possible. This is our job. This is what we do. And usually the first thing that we are asked is about, isn't that discriminatory? If you say that I'm only going to rent to non-smokers, is that a discrimination policy? So Jenna, why don't you talk about how this is going to be addressed at our conference and
Sure.
what you know to be true?
Yeah. Yes, so that is a question that always comes up. Aren't you taking away someone's right to smoke? And smokers are not a protected class, so they actually don't have a right to smoke. So a landlord can legally make his property smoke-free. It's something that should be in the lease that the tenant signs so that everyone's on the same page. And, unless it's your property, unless it's perhaps in your own car or if you own a home, then that's a different situation. But in a rental property, it is up to the landlord to make those rules. And it's just like any other rule of living there, of no pets or no noise and those type of things. And the tenant has to abide by those rules. And, typically there's the same type of enforcement, if someone's not following the no smoking rule that there are with any other type of provision of living there. But we try to be helpful to the tenant. People, it is an addiction and so hard for people to quit. Most most smokers would love to quit. It's just extremely difficult. Many times they've tried many times. So we do try to help them with that and to help prepare them for a policy change if their building is going smoke-free, to help them think about how they're going to get through the day, perhaps, use the patch or the gum and, different things out there that can help them with this lifestyle change of their living environment.
It is difficult to quit, but you and I both know from research and from talking to people that quitting is totally possible. And sometimes it does take a couple of tries, but every time a person tries, they learn a little something different. So right now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about our upcoming conference. Again, it will be on March 11th. It will be at Niagara County Community College, plenty of parking available. It will be in the G building, second floor. And again, you're going to get a free breakfast. It's just a couple of hours. You're going to hear from Scott Russo, our smoke-free multi-unit housing advocate, and who's employed at Q&D Property Management. And of course, Jenna and I will be there. We are not going to be speaking at that day. Jenna, please let the landlords know what's in it for them when they come to this, please.
We're really hoping that this is sort of an open forum because there are a lot of questions, and we really hope that with our speakers, they can provide the answers. We also have Joan Spillman from the Buffalo Field Office of HUD coming. HUD is actually going through some major changes. They've always strongly recommended smoke-free housing to their properties, but now it is in the works that it's very probable that they're going to actually insist upon smoke-free housing for their properties. So this would affect housing authorities and thousands and thousands of people. So Joan will be there to speak to the HUD changes, which I think will be of great interest. And we also have someone from HOME, Housing Opportunities Made Equal. He's an attorney for them, and he handles specifically housing type of legal issues. So his name is Daniel Corbett, and he's a wealth of knowledge in this area and can really provide some great information there. And then we also have Melissa Lensk coming, and she's from Forest View Senior Village right here in Niagara County, a Calamar property. They went smoke-free probably about 4 years ago, and she can speak to their transition and how it went and where they are today.
And again, no one is pontificating for an hour. It's going to be, everyone will only be speaking for a short time. It will give you a chance to hear a few minutes from all of these experts. There'll be some networking time. If you want to just approach them one-on-one, you don't have to raise your hand, you don't have to ask a question. We just want you to know that this is going to be a very, very easy way for you to gather the information that you need, so you can decide. You can make the personal decision about whether this is right for you. I attended a very similar conference hosted by by the Tobacco Free Erie Niagara. They changed their name, and that is why I'm stumbling. I've always known it as the Erie Niagara Tobacco Free Coalition, but it's now Tobacco Free Erie Niagara. And it was such a wonderful conference. It was a wonderful experience. It gave me a lot of information to take back to the people who are interested in this type of information in Niagara County. And that's when I approached Jenna, and now our health department, Niagara County Department of Health, Tobacco Free Erie Niagara. Jenna and I are the coordinators of this conference, but we are so excited about bringing this to Niagara County. There is a postcard that will be mailed to several multi-unit property owners in Niagara County. Unfortunately, I can't get the addresses for everyone. I've gotten some through public records, and there will be some flyers out. Please grab a pen, grab a paper if this is of interest to you, because we are going to keep showing this postcard. We are going to keep showing the information. We will continually show Jenna's contact phone number and my phone number so that landlords can call us and ask us information about this if you need to get the specifics. We also want you to know that, again, this is free, and we want to let you know that you don't have to make an RSVP, but we would appreciate it because we want to make sure that we have enough seating and breakfast. And so if you'd like to commit, yes, you can bring your co-property owner. If there's someone else who's helping you to make this decision, it's not limited to just one person tied to that property. So let's continue with this. Scott, you participated last year in the conference, and we're so glad that you're here because you also have property interests in Niagara County. Can you give me your overall feelings and about that and how your experience went, and did you get some feedback from other landlords at that time?
Yes, I think it went very well. I think a lot of landlords feel as though they're on shaky ground, even though there is the Clean Air Act in New York State, and whether or not they have the authority or the legal right to take a project smoke-free. And Jenna earlier was talking about there is no right guaranteed to you for smoking, and there's truth in that. That's, I think it was either 1987 or 1988. There's actually case law to back that up, and it was a circuit court. It's not been heard by the Supreme Court, and I'm not aware of any challenges to try to overturn that. In New York State, there was a case in New York City where a tenant was being evicted for smoking, and the judge upheld the eviction because under New York State real property law, a landlord has an obligation to protect residents. Granted, that was New York City. That has not been appealed. That is the law of the land. So there's definitely legal precedent to allow a landlord to move forward. So that was probably the biggest area of confusion.
Wow. Well, we've shared with you a lot of information today. We've shared about why it's important to live in a smoke-free environment, especially for your children. Children who are raised in secondhand smoke frequently have earaches, tonsillitis, adenoiditis, and many other things. So please, again, look at the information on the screen, give us a call, and we really, really invite all these landlords to come to our conference. Again, I'm Teresa McCabe, Public Health Educator for Niagara County Department of Health, Environmental Health Division. Stay healthy. Thank you very much for your time today, and join us again.